With a shakeup in the organization anticipated, some recent news about one former Cardinal legend has got people wondering, is he going to be the next manager of the team? This is Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Haffern, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X at JD Sports Radio, and the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube as well. Stop on by, say hi, like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification button so you know when the new episodes come out. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball, as frustrated as they may be, all the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right say can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. So the Cardinals are back on the diamond tonight. One final road trip here in 2024 before the season is wrapped up. A season that obviously has been disappointing in many, many ways, specifically the standings, right? Where the team is 79-77, has already been eliminated from playoff contention for a second straight season. Is 2024 as bad as last year? No, it is not. But when the expectations of your fan base and your city are as high as they are in St. Louis, finishing at 500 or right around it is not going to cut it. Remember the words, Bill DeWitt Jr. You know some places winning is just a winning record, or even 500 is acceptable. Players have a nice season, go home, and get back to their families and so forth, but not in this city, not with this franchise, not with this history, and not with our great fans. Well, here we are, a mid-level 500 team who certainly has some talent. Not taking that away. There are guys on this team that can ball, but they underperformed as a whole for a second straight season. And when I say as a whole, I'm talking about the players, the coaches, the front office, all of these people involved. It's time for change. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. The people in charge know it. And the change needs to happen throughout this organization. It's not just one person. It's not just one player. It's not just one coach. It's something that needs to happen in multiple areas within this organization. The infrastructure is a word that has been thrown around a lot, where there just needs to be some changes done. All right. Most believe that the front office transition from John Mozeliak as president of baseball operations to Chaim Bloom is a foregone conclusion. All right. Obviously, they brought him in, special advisor, and all of that. How soon will that change take place is the real question, right? Because Mo's got a year left on his contract. It seems like he wants to move on. It seems like he's fed up. And the Cardinals fan base is fed up with Mo being in charge. He's had a great run, not taking that away from John Mozeliak, but things have not gone well over the last few years. He's trying to get out. Time to bring some new blood in. Chaim Bloom is here. Seems like the handoff of duties is going to be happening at some point this offseason. Some people anticipate that, in the postseason press conference that they're going to have, where, they talk about wrapping the season up and stuff. They didn't do it last year, remember? They avoided it. But this year they're going to do it, and at least they're supposed to. And it seems like maybe an announcement could be made then. What the changes are going to be, and we'll see. We'll see. But what about the manager? What about the manager? Yesterday, we talked about the Reds pulling the trigger, or not being afraid to pull the trigger on firing David Bell, despite signing him to an extension in 2023. And I had to chuckle a little bit because their GM, Nick Kroll, he also used the word, I couldn't believe it came out of his mouth, philosophical differences. Where have we heard that before, Cardinals fans? As one of the reasons when talking about why they moved on from David Bell, which means obviously David Bell will be managing a team in a couple of years and take them to the playoffs like Mike Schilt has done with the San Diego Padres. Foregone conclusion on that as well. But Oli Marmol has had the full backing of John Mozeliak ever since he was hired following the abrupt firing of Schilt, so much that heading into the season that he gave Oli that extension, just so he wouldn't feel like he was getting set up to be the lame duck if the Cardinals came out of the gate slowly against a pretty tough schedule early on, which, of course, they did, going 15-24 before turning things around after Mother's Day in Milwaukee. And that's when things started to get a whole lot better for Oli, the Cardinals, and everybody involved. Since that point, the Cardinals are 64-53, 11 games over 500, a 547 winning percentage, which is very good. You know, that 547, that's playoff caliber winning percentage. But is it enough at this point to actually save Oli's job? If they decide to move on to Chaim Bloom and he gets to make the decisions, does it make sense to have Oli back, or would Bloom want his own choice as the person to manage this ball club in 2025? And if they decide to replace Oli Marmol, is Yadier Molina going to be the guy that takes over? There's been some new developments, some new information that's come out about Yadi that has some people wondering, myself included, if he's not setting up for a return in 2025 to the Cardinals organization. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Cardinals. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and a whole lot more. Whether you're into speed, whether it's power, whether it's style, maybe you want all three. Why not, right? eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On MLB podcast hosted by Paul Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully, who is here daily to provide national expertise with his trademark humor. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who's got you covered each and every day on Locked On MLB, which is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, thank you guys for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. Feedback is always welcome and encouraged. I am very much excited to hear what you might have to say about recent developments that have popped up. Let me take you back and just kind of recap for some of the newer listeners. I know my everydayers are like, yeah, we already know this. Not everybody knows all this stuff, okay? The past offseason, the Cardinals, if you remember, made that big announcement, that huge announcement that the one and only, the catching god himself, Yadier Molina, the beloved Cardinal who spent his entire career with the team, one of the greatest defensive catchers of all time, arguably one of the best all-round catchers of all time. There are some people out there that do believe that Yadier Molina was not that great on offense. And, us in St. Louis feel a little bit different because he was awfully clutch. But yeah, he doesn't have the offensive numbers of a Johnny Bench or something like that. But man, was he something special, right? And we figured out how important Yadier Molina was, not only in your lineup, but specifically behind the plate after he retired and things went haywire in 2023. But last year they made the announcement that he was going to come on as a special assistant to the team. And I remember being at the winter warm-up. I was a couple of rows away from John Mozeliak when he was like, hey, everybody, excited that Yadi's coming back? And it was met with a lukewarm response. And Cardinal fans are pretty smart overall. All right. And it's not that they weren't happy to have Yadi coming back on that frigid morning. That wasn't what the problem was. We're all at Ballpark Village, excited to hear what was going to happen. But it was because they wanted more. They wanted him to be more than just a special assistant. They wanted him in charge as the manager of this ball club. I talked about it on this show plenty. What an awkward position it was kind of setting up to be for everyone involved. That, Yadi coming on, they were talking about, he's going to be in the dugout sometimes and went in uniform and helping out. He's going to help out with the catchers, but he's also going to be in the press box doing stuff. Like how awkward that was going to kind of be for everyone, with Yadi seemingly being the manager in waiting, Ollie having to kind of look over his shoulder the whole season. It was just kind of, to me, it was setting up to be a problem. And Ollie said all the right things when it came to this situation. He was like, yeah, I want Yadi around. We want him to be a part of this staff, and talked about how they had a good relationship, and he's excited about it and encouraged it. And then in the spring, to, in my opinion, put Ollie at ease and squash any issues with what was going to happen in the season, Mo gives him an extension. Despite coming off of that horrible season in 2023, going into his last year of his contract, where a lot of us felt that, let's see what he can do. Let Ollie prove himself that he's a really good manager. And if he is, cool. And if things don't work out, you move on. But they gave him an extension. From that point forward, we hardly heard anything about Yadier Molina anymore. We were told he was handling some personal things in Puerto Rico. He never ended up showing up at spring training, despite Mo saying, oh, yeah, he's just coming in a little bit later than we thought he was going to. No big deal. By the time games start, he'll be around. Never happened. Never showed up at Busch Stadium for any games this year. Was never on the road. Just an absolute ghost this season. Like the whole idea of him just poof, just vanished, right? What happened? Now, I'm not going to speculate on any, family things that he might have been dealing with, because I have no clue about that side of stuff. One of the things that is public knowledge is that Yadier was, doing stuff with his basketball team. Remember his last year? Remember he left the team and dealt with some stuff with his basketball team for a little bit. And everybody's like, what the hell is going on here? But he's got a commitment to this basketball team that he owns and manages. And, that was something that he is into. But that could be changing. Reports are that Yadier Molina is considering selling the team. This is a big deal for us in Cardinals Nation, because if he does do the sells of the team, does that mean that he's going to fulfill his role as a special assistant in 2025? Is that what's happening? Is he going to come on? Will he have more time to give to the St. Louis Cardinals? Also, what if the organization decides to make some sweeping changes? John Mozeliak moves on to a different role within the organization for his final year under contract and ends up becoming a special advisor or something later on down the road. I don't think he's just going to stop being a part of the organization. But what if they're like, all right, let's move. Last year, Mo's going to move on. Einblum's going to take over, president of baseball operations, decides to fire Ali Marmol and hire Yadier Molina instead. What if that's something that's being set up right now? Again, speculating. There's no information that that's what's going on right now. But if it were to happen, can you imagine the reaction by the fan base if it were to go down? I mean, not only do you get what the fan base has been asking for, changes in the front office, changes coaching staff-wise, You get the fresh eyes and fresh blood in the front office, but also you're bringing back one of the most cherished players in team history who was just on this team not too long ago, 2 years ago when they went to the playoffs. You get him to take over as manager. Let him bring in the coaches that he wants and trusts to get the Cardinal way back on track. If this were to happen, you might see celebrating in the streets of St. Louis like they just won the World Series. Certainly kind of Mardi Gras-ish, right? There's going to be people celebrating, women flashing maybe. I don't know. But it's there. People are going to be very, very happy about that. It would inject some enthusiasm into the fan base about this Cardinals team moving forward into 2025. I think it would also show that ownership is listening and paying attention to what the fans are trying to point out. Their refusal to buy into another year of what this has been the last 2 seasons, which has been failure and then mediocrity. You can call it progress if you want to look at it that way, but it's mediocrity, which is not what we are used to here as St. Louis Cardinal fans. You know, they stopped coming out to watch this team in its current state long ago, despite the trade deadline deals for Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham, which at the time made sense move-wise. It made sense, but still underwhelming. Remember when I talked about Eric Fetty, I'm like, he seems like the guy the Cardinals are going to go after. He just seems like that dude, but I want more. This team needed more than just an Eric Fetty who came over from Korea and had a really good first half of a season. You needed somebody who could come in and dominate. Fetty is what he is. And coming to the Cardinals, he didn't live up to what he was in Chicago in the first half. He just didn't. And then considering you gave away a fan favorite in Tommy Edman on top of that, who's now flourishing with the Dodgers, 265, 6 bombs, 19 RBIs, and 6 stolen bases in 31 games. You don't think the Cardinals could have used that? Oh. But nonetheless, they made the deal. They moved on from Tommy Edman, who's just loving life in LA from what I hear. The fans gave you a little golf clap, like, okay, when you decided to make the promotions of Jordan Walker, Thomas Ajacey, and Michael McGreevy. You know, you had the weird thing with Jordan Walker coming up for a platoon role for a week or something, like just weird stuff. But when they did decide, like, all right, he's coming back and we're going to make it a full-time thing no matter what, it's too little too late, man. You'd already lost the fan base. They were already gone. They'd already moved on. They knew the team wasn't good enough. And until real change happens, I don't think they're coming back. You've even got team leaders in Wilson Contreras and Nolan Arenado telling you that, you know, hey, this team needs help. That the front office needs to be hungry to win the division. Like you're getting a sense from them that they feel that the front office isn't trying all that hard. At least that's how it comes off to me. And that's a big deal because when have you ever heard that from a Cardinals player? Calling out the front office, saying, hey, you're sucking right now. Figure some stuff out here, man. We need some help down here on the field. It's clear that changes need to be made, yeah. And if you can't afford the free agent names that it would take to turn this fan base around and trust you again and believe in you again and come out to the games more often, then you need to start with some things that you can control. And that's who's driving the ship in 2025. If you want fans to believe in you again, then have Chaim Bloom and Yadier Molina spearhead your turnaround. That makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people would be excited about that it's a change. And it's a change in the right direction. People that they are excited to see what they can do with what this organization has already. Again, there is a lot of talent in this organization still. It hasn't lived up to expectations, but we need to get Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman on track. What I see today, let me check out Hold on. Jeff Jones just had tweeted this out, and I want to include this real quick. Jimmy Crooks, Tink Kentz, Quinn Matthews, and Matt Swanson all named Texas League All-Stars. Their manager named the Texas League Manager of the Year. So that's back-to-back Texas League MVPs. So JC was down there last year, and now you got Jimmy Crooks, catching prospect. Jones also says, probably worth mentioning, that Crooks was named the Texas League MVP. Tink Kentz named the league's top pitcher. There's talent in this organization. It's there. It just needs to be harnessed. And the people who have been in charge the last couple of years have not been able to do that. Proof's in the pudding, man. Go look at it. Go look at it. Now, will Cardinals ownership have the nuts to make drastic moves like this, to say, all right, time to move on from everybody involved here and bring these guys back in? It's not like you're dealing with somebody you don't know. I mean, Chaim Bloom's been there already. Yadier Molina was here for 20 years, man. Come on. This is not like some stranger coming back in. But will they have the nuts to move on from both John Mozeliak and Oli Marmol for 2025? That remains to be seen. And this isn't an anti-Oli thing for me, by the way. It's just about turning the page from what you've seen the last 2 years. It's getting a clean slate. It's starting fresh. That's all it is. This is not me bashing Oli. Like, it's not. But to move forward, you can't just keep dragging the same people along with you, right? Yadier Molina could be the mouthwash, if you will, that gets the bad taste of the last 2 seasons out of our mouths quicker than any free agent might. And he's a hell of a lot cheaper. You don't have to pay, $200 million contracts to managers. And if the Cardinals run it back with the same guys in charge, same kind of players in place for next year, I hope ownership's ready for the reaction, which will probably be a lot of empty seats from the get-go in 2025. And I don't think that's something they want to do. So anyway, leave your comments, leave your suggestions down below. What do you think of this? Am I out of my mind? Am I on the right path? What do you guys think? I need to hear from you and get some fan feedback for our upcoming episode. So let me know. Let me know where you're at on this. We'll preview the Rockies series, specifically tonight's matchup, Tuesday night, coming up next year on Locked On Cardinals. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about. If you're not somebody who has traveled much, I advise you to go to places like New York and Boston and Vegas and Miami, San Diego, L.A., Nashville, Kansas City. Some of my favorite places in the country that I've gone to for not just sporting events, but for just to go see different places around the country. Those are some of my personal favorites. They've got hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more available on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city, during the postseason. Maybe it's time to taste test your baseball's competition stadium cuisine. Luckily, on Booking.com, you can find the stadium stay that's just right for you. With Booking.com's wide variety of choice across the U.S., you can go incognito to all of your baseball rival cities: Chicago, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, obviously Colorado right now. Probably beautiful out there this time of year. Booking.com delivers exactly the right U.S. stay for you. Booking.com can help you book a stay that's close to your home teams or rival stadium, no matter what team you're rooting for in the postseason. I know our Cardinals aren't there, but if you want to go see some of these games happen, Booking.com can make you a fan of any U.S. city. From hotels that overlook the stadiums to family-friendly resorts to cute bed and breakfast stays, Booking.com has so many choices across the U.S. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. You know, sometimes you'll be watching a game and you see a trend taking place during a game. You know, you're watching those Monday night games last night and you're seeing that the Bengals defense cannot stop Jaden McDaniels. You're like, ooh, maybe I should put something down on what's going on with Jaden McDaniels. You can do that. You can do that. Obviously, it works out for baseball as well. When the Cardinals are doing well, they're failing in a certain area. You can kind of see how that game is trending. This is nice. That's when you go to FanDuel and you take advantage. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you actually place your bets. They got it all consolidated right there for you. So it's quick. It's easy. Hopefully you cashed in on what you were seeing last night in that Jaguars-Bills game where the Bills just steamrolled the Jaguars. What is going on with Trevor Lawrence? What happened to that guy? Former number 1 overall pick, just, it's bad. It's bad right now. But you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. Now go check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Sully's preparing you for the Fall Classic each and every day. Find the link to Locked On MLB in the description so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, final road trip of the season. We start off in Colorado tonight against the Rockies, where we get to see Michael McGreevy make his second start in a Cardinals uniform tonight. The former first-round pick has been outstanding in his 2 appearances at the major league level. July 31st against the defending champion Rangers, 7 innings, 1 run on 5 hits on just 99 pitches, picked up his first major league win in that game. I remember he was so good, and the Cardinals had just gotten Tommy Pham, and Pham was like flabbergasted that it was a spot start for McGreevy. He was like, yo, we need to keep this dude around. This guy was good. Obviously, the Cardinals didn't do that. They immediately sent him right back down to Memphis, where he continued to pitch pretty well. Then recently brought back up, came out of the bullpen in his first appearance, and once again, brilliant. Throwing 3 shutout innings against the Pirates. He allows 2 hits, strikes out 4, grabs his second major league win. So he's now 2-0, the ERA 0.90. We'll see how things for McGreevy play out at Coors Field, which obviously can be a house of horrors for pitchers. It's not an easy place to throw the ball in. Rockies do have the third worst record in baseball. They're 60-96, ahead of only the White Sox and the Marlins, but they're always a completely different team at home as compared to what they do on the road. They're 36-39 at home, 24-57 on the road. 2 of those wins in St. Louis. Remember that series? What a letdown that was. That was a whole week of just. That was when they lost to the Cardinals lost a series to the White Sox this year. Do you guys remember that? Unbelievable. Anyway, Rockies offense, not so good on the road. 217 batting average. Then it jumps to 267, 50 points higher at Coors Field. And for years, they've been led by Chuck Nasty, Charlie Blackmon, and just announced on Monday that he's going to be retiring at the end of the year, which is, all good things come to an end. Team's career leader in triples was 67, just under 1,800 hits, just under 3,000 total bases. He's got 333 doubles, 1,618 games played. Among other accomplishments, he ranks second in team history, only to Hall of Famer Todd Helton. So kind of cool that the Cardinals will be around in his final week in a Colorado Rockies uniform. You get to see some of his last at-bats. So, that's kind of neat. And it's cool to see, Nolan Arenado gets to go back to Colorado and, see some of his old guys. Obviously he played a number of years with Blackmon. So that'll be kind of a cool story to see that. Ryan Feltner will get the ball for the Rockies tonight. Right-hander's just 3-10 on the season, but has been pretty good recently, going 2-0 with a 1.96 ERA over his 3 starts in September. Gave up 4 runs, none of them earned on just 2 hits, and struck out 7 and 5 in the third innings against the Cardinals back in June, a game that the Rockies won by a score of 6-5. On the road, respectable 3.93 ERA. At home, balloons, 5.76 ERA. So hopefully the Cardinals can take advantage of that and put together some offense tonight. Did not do a lot of that in their last game. Offense was tough to come by. They didn't score a lot of runs. in general against the Guardians, but somehow won 2 of 3 against Cleveland. So maybe we'll get some fireworks tonight offensively from the Cardinals offense. They need to go 2-4 over their last 6 games here this week to avoid a losing season. They need to go 5-1 to meet my prediction of 84 wins at the beginning of the year. My guess, they'll fall somewhere in between, right in the middle, kind of like they've been all season. Just, yeah. First pitch is going to be at 7:40 St. Louis time, but if there's any reason to watch tonight's game, let's see Michael McGreevy, a guy that is making a push for a starting rotation spot in 2025. I think a lot of us believe he deserves at least a crack at it, and he pitches well in Coors. What are you going to say about him? I mean, not a lot of people pitch well there. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter, X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like, subscribe on YouTube, and help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are still the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I will see you next time on Locked On Cardinals. Enjoy the game tonight.